What's going on, everybody? My name is Channing, and in today's video I want to talk about my personal experience with divorce. My parents actually ended up getting divorced when I was 14, and it was one of the roughest things that I've ever gone through as a human being. You know, as a kid, when we're younger, we look up so much to our parents and we almost treat them like superheroes. And when something traumatic happens, it really makes you realize that your parents aren't heroes. They're not these people that can part a sea or flip over a building or move mountains. Unfortunately, our parents are just people, and they can make mistakes, and they make bad decisions, and they might make decisions that affect you. Unfortunately, I was a young kid. I was a teenager, just barely a teenager, when I learned this lesson, and it was through my parents' divorce. So today I kind of want to dive deep and talk about it a little bit in hopes of helping someone else out there that's either going through this, that has gone through this, or somebody that feels like it's on the verge. Okay, so we'll start here. When I was 14, my parents ended up getting divorced. And the way that I found out was actually pretty interesting because my family had this iPad, and it was like a family iPad. So like the iCloud and everything was attached to it. I could see like what my parents were texting about and all that stuff, even though I probably shouldn't have been looking at some of that stuff. I was just nosy, man. You know, when you see your parents going through stuff, it gives you a sense of like wanting to fix or help the situation. But anywho, I was looking at the iPad and, you know, I noticed that they were fighting a lot over text, and they would fight at home, and it was tough to see sometimes because, you know, there my parents are, these two people that are supposed to like love each other and supposed to like be there for us, or like yelling and screaming in front of us and fighting, and you know, that's never good. You know, so this went on for some time, and eventually I had found out on the iPad that my parents were getting a divorce. And back then I was super close with a friend of mine who I will name Apple, and me and Apple, man, we were like brothers. Like, he used to like live at my house pretty much. You know, when this happened, he was over when I found out, and he was over at the house, and I just remember like finding out and reading it and like just kind of being in like an area of shock. Like I couldn't really believe it. And I remember me and Apple, we walked outside and we were just breaking down, man, like just upset and angry. And you know, to this day, I really appreciate the fact that he went through that with me, because at least I wasn't alone. You know, and I forget if it was that night, but it was around the time we were going to like a family dinner for like one of my siblings' birthday parties. It was actually my brother, and we were going out for like his birthday or something like that. My parents ended up getting into a fight, and I'm pretty sure that was like the night when we all found out or something like that. All I know is this whole entire situation and like these few years for me were just like a blur. So remembering some of this stuff is a little bit tough for me, so bear with me. But anyways, we ended up all figuring out, and I was the first one to know, and I didn't tell anyone in my family because I just didn't know how they would react, and I didn't want to have like the burden to put that on my, you know, three younger siblings, my three younger brothers, that this was on the horizon. And you know, my parents tried to make it work, and they tried to like, you know, do the counseling thing and stuff like that, but it just wasn't meant to be. You know, one thing led to another. They ended up getting this divorce, and it was rough, man. It was pretty quick. My mom pretty much just kind of like moved out of the house, and yeah, my mom was just kind of like everywhere. She was just kind of hopping around. I don't really know what she was up to at that time. You know, she was just kind of like still seeing guys, and like the divorce wasn't finalized, and that kind of like bothered me because I would have these hockey games, and like she would bring these guys there that are like watching me, and I'm like pissed off that like they're there, and it just bothered me a lot, man, because I knew it bothered my dad. I think that's why it hurt me. Well, anywho, this went on for some time, and it was just rocky, and it wasn't a good time by any means. At this point, I just really started to become like an angry kid because there was just so much going on at home that I just couldn't explain. I didn't feel like I could talk about, and you know, I didn't want to let people around me know that I was like going through stuff like that. So it really just like upset me, man. It basically felt like I was corked in a bottle and I was about to explode the bottle, you know? I was just walking on eggshells for those years. Well, one day I decided to go to a hockey game with my mom, and it was December 31st. I forget what year, but this was the first year that my parents, you know, were not together, and you know, the holiday season was pretty rough. My mom took us to this Sabres game. For those of you that don't know, I live in Buffalo, go Bills. And we ended up going to that, and long story short, while I'm there, I ended up having a complete like moment, and my stomach started hurting, and I couldn't figure out why. So I tried to make it through the Sabres game, and then we ended up deciding to go to dinner afterwards at this place called Pearl Street, which is in downtown Buffalo. So we ended up arriving, and my stomach was hurting so bad that like I literally couldn't even walk. And like, I'm not exaggerating, you guys, like it was that bad. So my mom and my brother and whoever guy that she was with at the time were inside like eating. All I know is I felt like I was dying, and little did I know, I legit was, because my appendix was on the verge of rupturing. My mom ended up giving me her phone so I could have a way to contact people if something happened. Mind you, I'm in the middle of a SUV, downtown Buffalo. It's like midnight, New Year's, so there's just people everywhere. I'm kind of freaked out just to be in the car, and I'm not the most outgoing kid ever, and I was feeling like crap, so I just didn't want to go inside. Well, the pain got so great to where I ended up praying to God that he could make something better, because I just didn't know what was wrong with it. And by the grace of God, somehow my mom's phone turned on, and I was able to use Siri to call my dad in a frantic mood to come pick me up. And at that moment, he just raced down. I was freaking out. It took him 15-20 minutes to get there, and when he ended up picking me up, he legit had to carry me to the car. Obviously my dad is mad at my mom because I'm just left in the car, and it was just this whole entire mess, man. Like I said, though, my appendix was rupturing. Nobody knew this at the time, so I had to go to the hospital and get everything checked out. I had to drink a gallon of this terrible liquid, and it was just rough, man. So yeah, I spent the January 1st of that year getting my appendix out, and obviously that had to take me out of hockey, which wasn't fun. Then my parents just got divorced right before that, so I was just having a rough year, man. And would you guys be surprised if I told you it didn't end there? Because it doesn't. Well, later that year, I ended up having a really, really bad hockey injury while playing in a tournament in Canada. I got hit from behind after a whistle, about 2-3 seconds after a whistle blew. I don't know why this kid did this, but ended up breaking my elbow, having a spinal cord injury, and I think my 5th or 6th final concussion, which took me away from playing any sports for the rest of my life. My doctors told me that it was not good for me to even run track, so that was unfortunate. Mind you, this is all my freshman year of high school. You know, my parents just got divorced, appendectomy, getting my appendix out, and then this happening. My world was slowly falling apart. It wouldn't take a wise man to understand which path I started to go down. You know, with no more hockey, my parents splitting up, I started hanging out with kids that weren't the best, and I started getting into drugs and smoking weed and alcohol, and I dealt with a lot of those addiction problems up until I was about 22 years old, and some of those things still linger around. Once an addict, always an addict. I became a bitter human being for a long time because of that divorce, and it never really made me realize where the root of the problem was. Once all this happened, my mom ended up moving away and out of state, and to this day our relationship isn't that good. I can sit down and have a conversation with her, and I think she knows I love her, and I know she loves me, but just kind of different because the last time that she was a mom was 14, so I don't really get to build that connection with her, going to high school and having her watch me date girls and go to prom and drive and all that stuff. So it really affects me, especially with women. My relationship with women is very, 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 very weird because my walls are so high. I'm not dating for that reason, I feel because I just don't feel like I can trust women, which is kind of sad, which I'm also trying to work on. But this was almost 10 years ago now, and it's crazy to think about. And if you don't deal with these things and properly assess them and learn how to talk about them and build communion around some of these things that hurt you, you need to understand what that does to your psyche, man. It will drive you crazy. It will create a lot of problems. The reason why I'm sharing my story today with that is because I want to help somebody out there that has either gone through this or is currently going through this, and I just want to let you know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and it's gonna be okay. No matter how messy things get and how scary things get, I promise you'll be okay. I think the utmost important thing to learn about divorce is to internalize and really pay attention to what broke those two people up and what causes those things. You know, when it comes to dating and marriage, you don't go and make those same decisions. And I think that's what I've learned about divorce. You know, it doesn't have to be this thing that like tears you down throughout life. It doesn't have to be this thing that stops you. It doesn't have to be this thing where it ruins certain parts of the year. It doesn't have to be whatever we make it, man. Just let it be what it is and live life on your terms, bro, and just live. I don't know, man. Hopefully this helps somebody out there. I'm like second guessing myself and even posting this video, but I'm gonna make myself do it either way. So yeah, guys, I just want you guys to know you're not alone. I love you. Thank you guys for all the support on my recent Sea of Thieves videos. I love streaming, I love making videos, and I love talking about life like this, man. So if this is something you want more of, let me know, and I'll definitely make some more videos like this.